Today I got a Hitachi Portable VCR. This is a model VT7. It goes back to probably about 1982, maybe 81, 80, maybe 82. It wouldn't be much after that because camcorders came out in the next year or so. This was a stereo VCR portable, not hi-fi, just stereo. Has 5 heads, 4 for video and 1 special effect head. And this one is not working. It was brought to me by a local viewer. Let's take a look at it and see what's wrong with it. Today I've got a little Hitachi portable VHS machine in to check over. That's a 5-head design. So 2 heads for SP, 2 heads for EP, and 1 special effect head. And the fellow gave me a power supply with it as well for testing. It's a Shint power. Now come on, let's... You know I can't resist, right? You know I can't resist. Much better. Much better. After all, who sells you a power supply with a voltage knob on it? That's just a recipe for disaster, that. So you can dial the sync from 3.4 and it goes up to a maximum of 12.3. I believe this unit uses 12 volts. So we got our power supply here. Tip is positive, and the tip is positive on this. So that should make it work. Let's see what happens. Power. Turns on. Eject works. Let's check it out and see first of all whether there's any take-up torque. Because I don't want to eat a tape. Make sure that the idler and so forth is working on it before I get any further. First things first, we need to block the light from reaching the end sensors so that I can operate the machine without a cassette, like that. And we'll operate rewind. I hear something spinning, but I don't see anything turning here. And same with fast forward and rewind, do exactly the same thing. So nothing's working. I hear a motor spinning and I see nothing moving. That could be a belt. Probably is a belt. Let's pop this unit apart. Oh look, it had been serviced by LC Home Electronics, 1988 Limited, on Main Street in Vancouver, BC. I believe that those people are long gone. Actually, it looks like it was serviced on 9/11/1991. So, yeah, like, you know, that's a significant date. Wasn't that 10 years before the World Trade Center fell down? Isn't that what happened? It fell down? You notice I didn't say that it came down from airplanes crashing into it, because I will get corrected on that, and we'll never hear the end of that debate. Same as if you mention Neil Armstrong walking on the moon. Remove the top cover to reveal the chassis. These were actually pretty good units. But it's a portable, so portables all had their own series of issues. Oh God. Remove the bottom. We got all the screws. The bottom should just lift off like that. And we should have a loading belt in here somewhere. That's probably turned to mush right there. It has turned to mush. Okay, these are not the easiest machines to work on because you have to pull the board out, and that is a challenge. on these ones. Looks like the belt's melted completely. Got to pull the front panel. Front panel's going to come off, and then the circuit boards have to come out. Yeah, these were really well thought out. Got to unplug the circuit board, or I might be able to just unclip it here and tilt it down and keep it on with the main board. It's been so many years since I've worked on one of these machines. Man, I almost forgot about these. Pull the boards out to take the bottom board off. Gotta disconnect that board. And I think I gotta disconnect the front board too, if I'm not mistaken. It's been so long since I've worked on one of these machines, I forgot how these go together. There's a screw over here that needs to come out. I think. And then this board has to unplug as well. I can swing this board out of the way. And then the bottom board can be released. And I got to get to the belt that's down here. Yeah, lots of fun. Here we go. That comes off like that. Now, I might be able to reach it, but I'm going to have to clean all the gunge off of it, because it's all twisted up and melted. There's two belts, these ones. I doubt whether I've got them too. It was a 3-inch and a 3.2. Where's the belts? There's more plugs that unplug from the chassis here on this board to pop this down. Again, all these portables were always a pain in the ass to work on. There's the belts that have to be replaced. Yeah, wonderful. Yeah. Mode switches here. Yeah, okay, I'll be working on this. I'm going to get dirty on this one. I'm going to get real dirty on this. Yuck. And the idler on the top's probably got to be changed out too. Yeah, ugly. Ugly. Ugh. We'll take out the loading motor. That should lift out this pulley and the motor. I think it's just the one screw that holds this in place. Yeah. Let's see if I can flip those belts off without getting too... they're going to fall apart. Yeah. Yuck. Can't charge enough to fix this junk. As you can see, I'm trying not to get too messy. This crap gets all over your tools, and then it gets over everything else you ever touch. Terrible. Belts that turn to mush. They're just awful. Okay, I'll be cleaning this up for a while. Wish me luck. I'm going to use WD-40 to clear this crap out of here. Acetone works pretty good too, but I don't have any acetone, but WD-40 does a pretty good job of clearing off a lot of this black crap from the old belts. Spray it on your cloth and work it in, and it will remove a lot of this stuff. the black crud from the old gear or the old belt will just come off quite easily with WD-40. It cleans your hands good too when you're done. Then I'll use alcohol to clear off the WD-40 because it'll leave a residue behind. That doesn't need to be perfect. Just fast. That's all we need. Get off what we can. It's not critical if there's a little bit left behind. We'll get off what we can. Okay, so at this point we know it needs 3 belts for sure. I don't have them. I just looked, and I don't have anything remotely close to these ones. Everything I've got is too big. If memory served me, it's 2 of them are SPM 3.0 and the others are 3.2. This is a 3.2 and these ones are 3.0. 2 of them, SPM. The place that I order my belts from right now, he's not taking any orders for a few weeks. That's KP Components. I don't know if he's taking a holiday, I guess, but his website just says we are not accepting orders right now. So I'm going to have to wait for that. I got to get a hold of the guy anyway and let him know. The idler here on the top, I don't know what shape that's in. I guess I can turn this and see whether it turns the reels, because the idler on top probably is also being rubber. It's probably also worn out. I'm going to put this back together at this point and let the fellow that owns it know. Well, he'll see the video before I even contact him, I'm sure. But I'll send him an email and let him know what I found and see what he wants to do on this. Changing out the belts on this and cleaning this up is a fair bit of work, as you can see already. But I guess it depends on what he wants to spend on it. But I got to order the parts in anyway, so there will be a delay getting parts. So now I'll just throw it back together for the time being. There's plugs on the other side I have to line up when I'm popping this into, which is what made these ones. It's kind of a pain in the ass to work on. Two sets of plugs, one over here and one down over here, that have to line up. That one's in. Of course, one plug goes in, the other one's always going to be the hard one, right? There's actually a third plug at the back here that's got to go into back over here. I mean, the fellow that owns it might not want to fix it. When he sees what needs to be done, he might just say forget it, because it's not worth it. It's not worth fixing this thing. These weren't worth fixing 40 years ago. That's just a shield that goes on here. Now there's 3 more plugs that have to line up for the front board. And then there's 3 more plugs that have to line up on the sideboard. And this is just to change the belts. Got to do this all again once the belts come in, if it in fact becomes a repair, which it may or may not. You might not want to fix it when you find out what it's going to cost. I still don't know the condition of the idler. See if I can turn the motor by hand and see whether it will turn or whether it's going to slip. I bet it's going to slip. The drive idler also is slipping. Looks like there's been something spilled in here too. Yeah, this drive idler is also bad. If I put pressure on it, it'll turn the hub, but on its own steam it won't. So it needs this drive idler done as well. That needs to be replaced. And the 3 belts. And again, at this point, we don't know if there's anything else that's wrong with it. This does use these composite modules, which did give trouble. You know, it's got a bunch of them in here. It's got one here. It's got another one over here. You know, I mean, these were back in 1979 when these were around. I had a friend that had one just like this, actually. Well, it was the same machine as this. No, it's just stereo. His was mono, but it's not hi-fi stereo. It's linear stereo. But I had a friend that had one 1980, I think. Paid like $3,000 for it with a camera, and it was a terrible camera at that. But it didn't last very long because they took it. Now this is when he was young at the time. He was a little spoiled kid, a friend of mine, but he was kind of spoiled. His parents would buy him all kinds of cool gadgets. They knew a guy that owned a local TV shop. In fact, I worked there. First shop when I was in high school, I worked at that shop. And he had one on display in the store, and he just wanted to get rid of it. So he sold it to my buddy's parents, who were big spenders. They'd go down to Vegas and make some money, and okay, we got to blow this money that we made in Vegas. I remember them buying him this porta pack with a camera, and my friend was only probably, I don't know, I would have been 16, so he was probably about, I don't know, 12 or 11 or 12, and he got this porta pack. And I remember I bought my first VCR. I saved up my money and bought my first VCR in '79. RCA Select Division, a big, home deck. And then my friend shows up with this one a year or two later. He is a portable. He was the envy of everybody because we all wanted a camera, but his parents went and bought him the tuner and the recorder and the camera, and he had that, but it didn't last very long because the camera got pointed at the sun and it blew the tube up in it. But they used to just use it to record off TV. They had a portable machine just like this. These were, relatively well built at the time, but I mean they all were built like this with metal chassis. But there's plastic on here. There's plastic gears on them. And, of course, the weak link on all these Hitachi made machines was the loading belts. They went on them all. Hitachi made a lot of RCA machines for them in the 80s. And the number of loading belt kits, we used to buy the kits. They would come with 2 loading belts, the capstan belt, the reel belt, and the counter belt, 5 belts. I think the kits at the time were about $30 for the kits. I remember changing them, and every time we fixed a VCR, it was like $75 or $80 to change the belts, and we'd be doing it constantly. It was a real issue. The belts going bad. Anyway, throw this one back together and get a hold of the fellow that owns it, and let him know what's wrong, and see what he decides he wants to do. I think there's probably a pretty good chance he's not going to fix this one, just because the parts and labor, it's going to make it uneconomical to repair. So make sure I get the switches lined up here. That one's all the way to the right. And the speed selector switch is all the way to the left. Okay. There we go, that's on. This is a later model. I would think it's probably maybe 83. I don't think they made these past about 82 or 83 because the camcorders came out at that point. So it might be 82, 83. It's old. I'm looking to see if I can see a date on here, but I don't. But somebody will figure that out. Somebody will look up the model number because I'm too lazy to look up the model number and see when it was made because I don't really care. I haven't seen one of these things since the mid-80s. Most people that had them got rid of them. They went and got themselves a hi-fi machine and got rid of the old ones, right? Because, well, they weren't hi-fi. I don't know why I'm bothering to plug the power cable in for the battery, because there's not ever going to be a battery ever put in this thing again. You know, it's funny, I had an SL2000. I had two of them. And there was a fellow that was bugging me about selling him an SL2000. I said, look, you know, this thing is so old. They're not worth it. They're not worth anything. But he was very insistent that I sell him an SL2000. So I did a service on it on the channel, you know, to verify that everything was working. And I packed it in a box, and I sent it back east because the fellow was very persistent about wanting this machine. And then when he gets it, he says, "Yeah, it worked fine for a while, and then it shut off. It stopped working." So, well, you know, it's 40-odd years old. What do you expect? I kind of told you before, you know, it's working now, but I can't guarantee this thing's going to run. It's 40 years old. And anyway, you got a machine that worked for a little while and then stopped. There's nothing really I can do on it. You can't get parts for them. Put that clip back in. It's like some of the old cameras I've got. I've got some old, like big old cameras that I picked up. You know, I bought them. I'm glad I didn't pay what people were asking for them. And same thing though, right? It's they don't work, and they're not economical to repair. Can they be repaired? Sure. If I wanted to put a lot of time and effort into it, I'm sure I could replace all the caps that are bad in it, but I still end up with something that's 40 years old. Anyway, that one's bad together. If there's a part 2 to this, we'll do it then. But right now, this was just kind of a look at it to see what's wrong with it. Now I gotta go spend the next 2 hours trying to get my hands clean. Thanks for watching.